Hello teacher, for my presentation about today modern day slavery, I've joined a group with TV Snare, and for the content we are going to talk about is 1. Definition, 2. How many people trapped in modern day slavery, 3. Why people fall into victim of slaves, 4. Type of modern slavery, and 5. How to stop it. 1. Of course, definition. We believe everyone everywhere has right to live a life free from slavery, but right now millions of children and adults are trapped in slavery in every single country in the world. Modern slavery is the severe exploitation of other people for personal or commercial gain. Modern slavery is all around us, but often just out of sight. People can become entrapped, making our clothes, serving our food, picking our crops, working in factories, or working in houses as workers, as cookers, cleaners, or nannies. From the outside, it can look like a normal job, but people are being controlled. They can face violence or threat, be forced into inescapable death, or have had their passport taken away and are being threatened with deportation. Number 2. How many people are trapped in modern day slavery? Globally, more than half of the 40.3 million victims, 24.9 million of them are in forced labor. 15.4 million people are estimated to be living in forced marriage. The majority of 60 million workers are working in private sector as slaves, like cleaning houses and flats, produce the clothes we wear, pick the fruit and vegetable we eat, throw the sea for the shrimp on our restaurant plates, digging for mineral used in our smartphone, makeup, and electric car. Statistically, 1 in 4 of them are children. Almost 3/4, meaning 31% of them are women and girls. Over 10,000 were identified as potential victims by the authorities in the UK in 2019. More than 30% of the 4.8 million sex exploitation victims are in the Asia and Pacific region. Forced marriage is most prevalent in Africa, but there isn't a single country that isn't tainted by slavery. 1.5 million victims are living in developed countries, with an estimated 13,000 enslaved in just UK alone. 3. Why people fall into victims of slave? There is no definitive answers to this question. Modern slavery affects people of every color, age, and gender, but there is more prevalent among vulnerable people. That might be a Cambodian villager looking for a better job, paid job in neighboring country, only to find himself trafficked onto a fishing boat, or a young girl forced to marry at 13 because climate change has flooded her family crops and they can no longer afford to keep her at home, or a migrant whose visa has expired and can be threatened with deportation if she doesn't do what the trafficker demands. Slavery is global but flourishes in places where the rule of law is weak and corruption goes unchecked. Although people could end up trapped in modern-day slavery because they are vulnerable of being tricked, trapped, and exploited, often as a result of poverty and exclusion. Many have fallen into this oppressive trap simply because they were trying to escape poverty or insecurity, improve their lives, and support their family, and now they can't leave. Also, slavery is a big business. Modern slave traders now earn up to 30 times more than their 18th and 19th century counterpart would have done. The one-off cost of a slave today is $450. A forced laborer generates roughly $80,000 in annual profit for the exploiter, while sex trafficker can earn an average of $36,000 for victims. That is all for my part, and for the next slide, move on to Visna.
Yes, thank you, Lipia. And hello, teacher. Today, then, point I presentation about modern day slavery is point 4 and 5. Four types of modern slavery. Modern slavery take many forms. The most common are forced labor, forced marriage, child slavery, sex trafficking, and debt bondage. Yes, and forced labor. Forced labor is the situation where people are forced to work against their will and they ask threat of punishment. This situation can be in terms of commercial labor but also conducted by the government or ruling parties of a country, like as Uzbekistan has one of the largest violations of this kind of labor in the world. Every year in autumn, the government forces 1 million people to risk their regular job to pick cotton. Even children are taken out of school to harvest. They are returned and forced to work. Forced marriage. Forced marriage. This type of this type of slavery occurs when an individual lacks the option to reduce marriage or is married to someone else by relative or a relative. Forced marriage can also happen when a wife is married in exchange for payment. A major motivation of this type of slavery is culture tradition or threat. Forced marriage of a child under the age of 18 is called early marriage. Girls are more common target for this because they can be controlled through sexual violence. Yes. And the next is child slavery. Child slavery there's any form of modern day slavery that involves children under 18 is considered child labor. More than a quarter of slaves today are children, and many are involved in occupations that are harmful mentally or physically. The demand of cheap labor and specific physical characteristics increase the use of child workers. Children are also easier to control and usually do not demand better working conditions or wealth. Yes. And next we talking about sex trafficking. Sex trafficking occurs when women, men, or children are forced to engage in commercial sex act. Commercial sex involving children under age 18 is always considered sex trafficking. Those living in extreme poverty are particularly vulnerable to this practice because of lack their economic and lack of education. Yes. And the next is debt bondage. Debt bondage occurs when an individual is forced to work to repay the debt. As the worker labor to repay their debt, the employer can add other expenses, making repayment impossible and enslavement permanent. This type of slavery is often used to make consumer products. It's particularly target migrant workers looking for an economic opportunity who incurs debt for travel or housing expenses. Yeah, like us in the picture, that means a bondage labor is probably the least known form of labor trafficking today. Yes, and the last point, five, we're talking about how to stop modern slavery. Yes, one of the most important key to ending slavery is for we who are free to educate ourselves, uh, advocate and act on behalf of those in bondage. So there are many ways that we can support to stop slavery, such as grant knowledge, support anti-slavery organization, speak up for this program, volunteer for society, and child sponsorships. Yes, and finally, is using someone metric this ball. It is best to contact authorities directly instead of approaching the person, as approaching them could put them in danger. Yeah, thank you, teacher, and our side presentation is finished.